But why am I saying, well, I'm not going to go, well, I just want a shot at the belt. I'm happy to get the monetary the monetary plus of it, but no, fuck that. I am going to become heavyweight champion of the world because all odds are against me.
What's happening, guys? Welcome to a new episode of Jester Radio. These two men, they don't need any introduction. Kevin, this is actually his third time. Peter, this is the first time, and it's an honor to have you. So thank you very much, Peter and Kevin, for coming on the podcast.
Thanks.
Anytime, Jess. Thanks for having me for the third time.
Of course, yeah. So let's start off with, people know Kevin. People also obviously do know you, Pete, but do you want to give a little, 2-minute introduction onto who you are and your claim to fame?
Okay, no, cool. Yeah, I was a former heavyweight South African Springbok champion and then turned pro in the 1990, and I became South African heavyweight champ. I fought Nell for the heavyweight title. By the way, going back to amateurs, I qualified for Barcelona Olympic Games, and then, things happened with it, the apartheid dropping, and then only allowed 42 athletes, and so we were limited in athletes. Then turned pro shortly after that, and became heavyweight champion here, and fought Nell for the heavyweight title here. We had a great fight, me and him. And then I went to US and I continued my career over there after losing the world title in South Africa. I was given a very short notice, 2-week notice for a world title, and I had to drop down to cruiserweights in 2 weeks. It was not a given deal. It was a stupid call, but you live and learn. Then went to the US. I was 7 years living in the US in California, and I was fighting out there. Built my way back again from my losses and from my loss, and then was going to fight Tyson in 2000. That never happened due to me signing with Don King stupidly. It was a pinnacle of my career, obviously, to fight the man of boxing. He's a Hall of Famer. He's the greatest of all time in my eyes. And then, I came back shortly after that through a lot of complications in promotional deals and all stuff with Don King. And then I visited my family and then came back here, and then I didn't know what I was going to do after that. I was like, do I go back and continue? And the reset button was a big question for me, So, started training clients just for fun. And then 1 or 2 fighters asked me to train them for boxing. I didn't really want to get back into it. And then I said, let me give it a try. And so lo and behold, started with Chris Van Heerden, another pro before that. And he did very well. And then eventually got on to Kevin R's journey, So we've been journeying together for a while and doing so great. And I've got other guys under me, Rowan Campbell and Keaton Gomes. And it's just been going, thank God, uphill. Really going well.
You mentioned Rowan, actually, obviously, because he just fought, it was last week, Thursday, and unfortunately he lost. But I want to know in terms of, that guy's gum guard that kept coming out.
Terrible.
Out of interest sake, and obviously someone not understanding the complete rules of boxing. Surely they were obviously the commentators were mentioning he should be losing points because it happened like 4 or 5 times.
That should have been a DQ, that he should have been disqualified. 3 spinning out the gum guard 3 times in 1 round. He knew Rowan was going to actually end him. I think Rowan got carried away, and I think he just, he'd been in for the long layoff for 1.5 years. Was a big problem, but it was good. We had to get in there and do it, And Rowan sticks to his name, Braveheart. He really showed guts and determination to win. He got dropped twice, but it was like, listen, Rowan's not a light heavyweight, but because he's been laying off for so long, his weight division started at 88 kilograms, 89. And I didn't want a dramatic weight cut. It kind of does you more harm than good. So he took his fight. It was a good fight. Listen, the result is a result. And we're not going to be cowards and say, could have, would have, should have. That guy, BSA disqualified, should have been, they never had their ducks in a row. Spinning out the gum, then the glove cut. It wasn't a tear. It was a cut from the palm of your hand to the other side of the other palm. That glove was broken. Impossible. I know those gloves very well. We had it on. You will never tear a glove like that through boxing. That was a deliberate cut, I know. And you know what? I'm not going to go further with it. We'll end up having a rematch with that guy, or somewhere down the line. I want to build a rematch with him eventually, but I want to get Rowan back on the board. And I believe Rowan can do it. On my side, there were a few hiccups in the way we were going in training, but hey, I thought he'd fought damn well, and you know what? I think he won the fight to the point of The two knockdowns were against us, but that guy should have had points taken off at least 3 rounds of the fight. So in my eyes, 3 rounds taken off points for manipulating the situation, cutting gloves, spinning gum guard out, holding on, the things that were going on there. I couldn't believe the judging system was that bad.
Well, if you take away those 2 knockdowns, essentially Rowan definitely obviously would have won with points.
Yeah.
And, speaking of winning fights, Kevin, the last time you were on, obviously you told me about your hand. You showed us, those x-rays. And now you obviously, how many punches did you land? Did you end up tallying with this last fight?
No, I didn't, but the punch count was quite high. It was quite a high pace for heavyweight fight. Not the highest pace, but it was quite a high pace. So I don't know, but I threw pretty much all I could at him.
And I think that pace obviously was dictated by you.
Yeah.
Because, obviously being, I don't want to say smaller man, but the lighter person, you needed to obviously, and that's obviously what I want to talk about is your, the training and the technique that you implemented for fights with someone, almost a head taller than you.
Yeah. Look, credit to Peter. If you fight a guy that big of a man with a reach like that, if you don't use boxing skills, so like if you take away power, take away everything else, if you don't have the skill set to take away his punching power, to make him miss, it'll be a very long night for you because they're such big men. So, credit to Peter and his game plan, which we've implemented. But this is not just a game plan for this fight. We've been working for 11 years together, so there's a lot more behind the scenes than people really know. And this was just a display of what we can do. So we got the victory, a lopsided, unanimous one against a man who's been in there with Vladimir Klitschko, Dylan White, to name a few, Just onwards and upwards. Boxing is a hard sport, and you've got to stay in the moment, and I'm in the moment. I just want to keep winning and just do my best. And I think we gave our best account of ourselves. I'd have liked the knockout. It's no secret that I want to knock people out because it's what I want to do. It's heavyweight boxing. But sometimes you also got to realize you can't knock everybody out, and I learned that too. I've gone the distance before, don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is I've learned that it's okay. You need to take positives on what you learn from this. And what I learned is heavyweight boxing is legitimate heavyweight boxing. I'm saying the big men are big, and it's a different ball game in there. But I'm excited. Mine and Peter's journey is literally starting now in the heavyweight division, and it's up to us to stay winning.
Well, you've obviously you've proven that you've got knockout power, but obviously fighting someone at this weight, at this size, is it obviously essentially you would, in terms of points, you walked over him, but how was it? Because obviously you didn't get the knockout, didn't get a knockdown or anything. Was it just because of his physical size and the strength and the experience and the sheer strength that he has as a fighter?
It's a valid question. I think if you dissect it, it's all relevant. Maybe his ability to absorb was a lot better. Maybe I didn't catch him on his button or on his point. I don't know, because if you look at him versus Klitschko hit him with like massive right hands. He went nowhere. Dylan White hit him with big punches. He went nowhere. I had him really hurt in the 10th and wobbled, and then the round ended. In hindsight, maybe I could have stopped him there. I don't know. Listen, don't get me wrong. You get guys who are more durable than others in the sport, and he's one of them, the durable men. Very strong, very tough. And me being a smaller heavyweight, maybe his ability to endure more was there in terms of impact. But had I hit him on the right spot, I could have put him to sleep. But I rocked him, but I didn't finish him. The round ended, but he had the ability to come back, and it's also experience. If you look at his experience, I noticed that the first thing I noticed, and I think Pete noticed it as well, because I came back to the corner and he said to me, he's doing this, this, and this. I think Peter was also like, this guy's quite experienced, because I was trying to go for his body in certain angles, and he was closing up really well and not standing square. And then he was riding my punches really well, which means when I was impacting him sometimes, he was really riding the punch well. So he had a lot of experience. So I learned a lot, being in his experience. I think he's had 35 wins and I think 9 losses, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got a lot of fights in there. So his ability to absorb and endure and experience is what I think got him through the 10 rounds. I smashed him. Zargoma's off. But at the end of the day, he was there for 12 rounds, which is also good for me, because the last time I went 12 rounds was in 2019. So
yeah, and going those 12 rounds, you said obviously he was the most, you tell me, was he the most experienced and the fighter that you've had the privilege of fighting?
Most definitely. I think if you're fighting a guy who's been in there for the heavyweight unified championship of the world, he's experienced. He's been in there with, I mean, I'm not saying I'm nothing, but he's been in there with Vladimir Klitschko, who's got more than 50 KOs to his name. He's been in there with Dylan White. He's been in there with big names. He fought for the unified championship or the heavyweight championship. So I haven't fought for that yet. So he's on experience. He brought a lot to the table and needs to be respected.
Also, their pedigree of the Northern Hemisphere, they grow up, their whole gyms are filled with Olympians, professional, and they don't, I mean, you walk in a gym there, you're looking at 20 active fighting guys in your weight division or, you know, between that area. And, you know, we're in the Southern Hemisphere, we don't get that exposure to the elite. We got to build ourselves up to that elite. So much credit to Kevin because, you know, in a short space of time, and it sounds crazy, but he's been pro for how many years now?
Well, 10, I think.
10 years. 11. But it's a short space of time in his career. You know, taking that, no, there's no amateur background, no pedigree of rubbing shoulders with juniors growing up. He had to dive in the deep end and really expose himself to challenges that come from. That's why they overlooked him. And it's many a times he's been overlooked. Yuri Kalenga overlooked him, and that was for the IBO title for the first time. All these guys overlooked him. Obviously, you know, when you're looking at boxing from a global aspect, they're not expecting us to show up to that level. And Kevin just keeps peaking up and up and up. So
they were surprised too.
They were shocked.
They came to win.
They laughed at him taking the fight.
They said he's too small. He's a cruiserweight, number one. That's what I'm going to get told my whole life, right? And they trained really hard because, remember, this was going to be the rebirth of his career. He beats me. He'd probably get another shot at a world title because he's been there before. We ruined it for him.
He tried to be a stepping stone. We were his stepping stone, basically. But, you know.
He was your stepping stone now.
100%. You know, this victory did a lot in the boxing world. Obviously, the KO of Dinu, but Dinu's not wach. Mm-hmm. You know, Dinu's not wach, you know.
Dinu's like the basic, he's the gatekeeper. And that's what we took that opportunity. Can Kevin introduce himself into the heavyweights like he did? And he did it with explosion and with a lot of like, whoa, okay, he did it well. And for a man of his size, dominating a heavyweight like that was like very impressive. You know, you take it like the Mike Tyson scenario, you know.
And is that obviously the strategy you went in with, you know, that close press forward, you know, stay, because he's obviously got such a long reach. You needed to be in that, you know, close quarters.
One thing, true, but the interesting part about this guy, and when I was cornering and I'm sitting there watching what Vach's doing, and I kept calling things with Kevin, he changed up things in the fight. I was like, whoa, this Oak, he really like learned to come around what we work on in training. So it was always leveling up in the corner. I was like, whoa, you know, this guy doesn't allow Kevin just to, most guys that we've been in contact with, we can see their structure, the way they think, the way they fight, what their strengths are, so we can dominate from those areas. But when it came to this fight, whatever I tried to implement into training and into the fight when I was sitting there, I looked at him and I was like, whoa, this Oak, like, you know, he was changing up. But Kevin would do it and get, like, you'd do it so well, but he couldn't do it again. There was hardly no repeats on trying to get our game plan in.
He was fixing, trying to fix as he went.
He kept patching away. Interesting. So
and that's what like a good trainer fighter team is about, because like I noticed it in the ring, but Peter was noticing it too. And every round he'd tell me to do something different. Like one round is like, you need to smash his body. Yeah, he's closing up upstairs. And then we did it. And then one round I was taking away his right hand because Peter said, slip that right hand. But then I started noticing he's trying to pick me up with uppercuts because I'm falling that way to take away his right hand. He was smart, but luckily I got a smarter trainer who I could get back to the corner, and being fit in that I could listen and take what Peter's saying to me. And there's a lot of things that I wanted to do in that fight, but I just never had that opportunity because I was in there with an experienced man.
And this is what people don't understand about the game, you know, Jess, because people think, oh, you know, you've got to take him out. Forget knocking everyone out. It's never going to happen. If you watched Joe Joyce versus Parker this weekend, whoa, what a fight. I mean, that Joe Joyce has got a concrete chin. There's no way you're taking that guy out. Just enjoy 12 rounds, but do it well and do it skillfully. It's all about the skill. Kevin's elevated his skill to such a high level that Vach has been with them all. After the game, he gave kudos to Kevin for the great fight he gave. He basically signed it off like, yep, I got my ass kicked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I want to ask you a question just because you know boxing, right? You know Alexander Usyk?
Yeah.
He's a great, right? Well, he's dominating the scene, like pound for pound king. He fought Derek Chisora, I think Chaz Witherspoon, and just before he fought AJ, he fought someone. Oh, no, let's take the AJ fights, the 2 AJ fights. So he's had 4 heavyweight fights. He's the undisputed heavyweight champion. Did he knock any of those guys out?
Not a chance. Mayweather neither.
But he's the undisputed fighter, you know. So I think I also put that pressure on myself, and I also I said, you know what, Kev, like if a knockout comes, it's grand. Like, listen, it's nice. It's an early night for me. It's an early night for Pete. But sometimes it's the fight sport. You know, that guy's a warrior who you're fighting. My next few fights, those guys don't want to lose to me. You're a man. You don't want to lose. You got pride. You know, you got ego.
They got the same incentive as we got.
Of course.
They don't want to get knocked out, number one, and number two, they're there to win because nobody wants to get hit and bullied in this game. It's a horrible feeling. And the people on the outside don't see that what's going on the inside. So these guys, what they go through, and I've been there, so I understand it, what they go through, people sit and enjoy drinking, eating, whatever it is, but they're not in there to do what he's doing. And a South African guy to mark up to this level, he's so far the highest rated South African fighter, no doubt, African fighter in the world right now. Now we are
heavyweight.
In heavyweight.
I think it's just
I'm just saying,
Junior's brother, Martin.
Martin. Okay, but he's on the European. I'm saying, but okay, from an
living in Africa, you spot on.
Living in Africa, this is the man. Martin is also a great fighter, but you know, we all in the same race now.
Well, if you put it in on box rate, Africa's pound for pound heavyweight list is Martin Bakoli, Kevin Lerena, and then other countries.
So what's your goal with, because obviously now you've had, several, you been introduced into the heavyweight. Obviously I've seen on your Instagram, you've talked about, this is my goal. This is what I want to achieve through heavyweight. What is that?
Jess, I think the reality of it is, and I was actually, me and Pete were speaking about it in the car, like the heavyweight game is very different, right? Because like fights and results change like so often. Like, you got a guy like Chisora who's lost. He had 8 losses in a row. He just beat Pulev. You got Joseph Parker who's just lost, So I'm not to say I'm going to lose. But what I'm saying is you got to be realistic and go like heavyweight boxing is real. I don't care what anyone says. You got heavyweight, you go down to flyweight. Heavyweight is the domain, the most respected, the glamour division. Heavyweight boxing is what rules the world in terms of fight game. Heavyweight, MMA boxing is the same thing. Heavyweight is the only division where any man has a 50-50 chance with you because they're so big and so strong, right? So I think like I need to be realistic and say, what's my goals? Well, I want to challenge. Let me go there. I want to challenge for the world title because that alone is a goal. Okay? I want to become world champion. But I also got to realize there's beasts in this division. But I'm living my dream daily. I just beat a guy who's been in there with the best. I just beat a guy before that who knocked him out, So I just got to take it fight by fight. This next possible fight offers my hardest fights on paper in terms of who it is and what he's about and his KO ratio. But if I get through this guy, there's the next step. But every guy you go through, you're going to have people who you're going to say like, oh, well, this. But listen, at the end of the day, heavyweight, I'm in the glamour division right now and I'm doing my utmost best. In South Africa, it's only 2 heavyweights you talk about in this country, and there's Keaton Gomes and Kevin Lerena. No one else. Can't live in our shoes. And people need to realize that.
Both at the sniper.
Correct. We complement each other. He benefits a lot by being sparring with me, and I benefit a lot by having him as a big, strong youngster up and coming to push me. And we both train the same way. And the truth be told, me and Keaton are in the same gym, and we're going to rule South African heavyweight boxing for a very long time. So from an international point of view, I got to say what's next. So I just want to become a household name in the world now, because when it comes to South Africa, I'm a household name boxing. I want to be known in the world and just keep winning. Like we're on an 8-year winning streak, me and Peter. People don't understand that 8 years is a long time, Jess. We haven't lost together in 8 years. And I lost in 2014 on points. A loss I shouldn't have had on your record, but it taught me a lot. We've come back from that. And if you look at who I lost to and look at where I'm at now, it shows you the mindset that we have as a team. I'm very fortunate, but I can't answer what's the goal, because my next fight, God willing it happens, is our biggest payday. But is that the goal? No. because the heavyweight title shot is going to be a bigger payday. So that's the true goal. But why am I saying, well, I'm not going to go, well, I just want a shot at the belt. I'm happy to get the monetary the monetary plus of it, but no, fuck that. I am going to become heavyweight champion of the world because all odds are against me. I've had the underdog B team mentality my whole career because I have no experience. It's understandable. Like, I shouldn't be doing what we're doing. It's like you had your first white collar fight. But now take that fight as your first pro fight.
Yeah.
Fast forward 30 fights later. 30 fights later, you're sitting in this chair. That's the equivalence. You know what I mean? People can't understand it.
And you know what the intensity of the training is. It's quite scary.
And I think maybe a fifth of the intensity actually, obviously, of a professional level.
Because they're living it every day, sparring every day, but sparring max to like, I mean, the guys, there's a certain, when I say there's no holdback, but obviously there's no, if a guy gets knocked out in sparring, gets knocked out, gets up or he carries on or he gets out.
They get drilled in our gym.
They get drilled.
They get drilled. And I must be honest, me and Keaton, we work each other so hard that when other guys come into the gym, they don't last. You know, I put up a post, and that post wasn't to try to promote my fight. That post was I genuinely needed help with sparring because I wasn't fighting Keaton Gomes, who's 6'3" or 6'1". I was fighting a big man, so I was calling out big guys, please come spar me. I need the help. We will pay you. There's one guy that came as a white collar fighter, respect to him for trying, and there's another guy, a Congolese guy who came. I don't even know his name, but he never came back.
No, he never came back.
And then there was Chris Thompson came to assist me. He actually needed the help from me because he was fighting a southpaw. I sparred him once, and Keaton sparred him a bit. Then he came back, and I sparred him one round, and he had a bit of a headache that day. He never came back. The Smith's gym, in terms of boxing, is the hardest sparring you're going to get in the heavyweight division. And I'm not being arrogant here. Peter's not. You know me. I'm not an arrogant guy. But we don't play. My sparring partner, Keaton, I say my sparring partner, we chief training, but we train together. We help each other. When we spar each other, we go like that balls to the wall because a fight, 12 rounds. I'm not there to pit a pat with you. When you spar with me, I'm there to land you. I'm going to spark you out because I'm going to take that into the fight.
And you want that guy to be doing the same
100%.
thing to you.
We paid a guy. You know how much it cost us to bring in an American sparring partner? If you convert it to rands for 2 weeks, 100,000 rand.
True.
And it was a desperate call for us. It was a bit of a late call. So Cassius was unbelievable. He came, but I think, it was a lot of things that came, the flight and everything that hindered him. And he helped us very well. And, there was a big size man who could get you, but it's risky for him to take a risk, and it doesn't fit our portfolio, and you're laying out all this money to get guys to come and work with you. So, him and Kevin worked so well together, actually. And we did what you did in that space. It was just to get that vision of a big man in front of him and that range, which worked out perfectly. Yeah.
And I started getting the game plan. Because Peter's, I had to move my head because he was tall and that. And I was like, shit, this is what I needed. Because remember, when I spar Keaton, we're of the same height. It's like two bulls, right? Yeah. Like we can trade. Because the punches aren't coming from there. They're coming from there.
Yeah. So change that whole vision. We get in the ring with the guy. You see this guy standing a head taller than you. It's like, whoa. It's like, okay. So you got to install this in your subconscious mind and how you got to go through it. So you're used to it. It's like, you crawl before you walk and walk before you run. You can't just go from crawling to running. I mean, from crawling to running. So it's a process in training that we build to get to that position and that overall plan that we master. And he's putting the belt around his waist. That's what you want.
So now you called out 4 people on Instagram, or actually Tyson Fury might be in the 5th. But, obviously you, after this, are going to go and potentially see who your next opponent will be. Obviously, we're not going to say who that is, but can we at least maybe say if it's one of those 4 that you called out?
That fight is, one of those 4 will be in a March fight. We just got this fight offer yesterday.
Okay.
We're going to go discuss that. I don't want to say too much, but we're going to go
dangerous guy.
Big dog. Dangerous. Very feared.
One of the most feared guys out there.
No one wants to fight him because he's a high KO ratio.
Okay.
I'm going to fight him. I've said I will fight him. Peter, let's go, champ. It's
So-
heavyweight boxing, right? You got to fight the best.
So if that, obviously, this meeting goes well, everything's sorted, when can the date be announced? December.
Early December.
And when will you be announcing when the fight is?
Oh, once we sign.
Okay.
100%, we have no issue. It's good for me. And
Okay.
listen, it's a big fight. It's the hardest of my career.
And
By a
it'll
country,
be, and it'll be in his
in his
town.
backyard.
Okay.
So
We can't say what country. There's people will deduce what
Europe.
it is.
Europe.
Europe. Okay.
Yeah. But you know, like for me, we're a team, and boxing is a great sport, and I just want to do my utmost best. I don't listen, man. To be honest, yes, you know the boxing business. I don't need to take this fight. We don't need to. If I wanted to play safe until I get a world title shot, I can go fight a guy who's ranked 70 in the world. For a March fight, I could fight a lesser guy. I could earn more money and they pay him less. We don't want that. We want challenges, and let's go, man. This is boxing. Let's go. That's what people don't realize. People talk shit in this country about who they're the best. Listen to me. Me and Peter Smith are a formidable team, and people need to recognize or just keep quiet. There's no two ways about it. No one's doing what we're doing.
And so you're not doing the talking of saying, you know,
I don't talk.
I'm the
just-
best heavyweight in the world. I'm the best
I'm
in
not.
South Africa.
Yes, I'm not. If you're not the heavyweight champion, you're not. If you're not the world heavyweight champion, you're not the best heavyweight in the world. I'm a contender, and I put my hand up. Until you become that king, you're not the best. But I got the will and the heart to become the best.
And he's putting it out there. I mean, Tyson Fury put a blot out there who wants to step up to a plate. Whatever negotiations going
That
on
was
between them.
that was behind my video. Listen, Fury's the king of the heavyweight division. I'm prepared to fight you. I don't want $9 million that Dillian got. I don't need that. Pay me fair, but I'm prepared to fight you. It shows that I want the big fights. We can't put on a fight like that in South Africa. The dollar rand's 18-1. Imagine.
Yeah.
Can't.
Rodney can't, and Rodney's a great promoter, but unfortunately our currency is not helping us, and the state of affairs here is not. I'm prepared to go to their backyards. Let's have a dip. It's heavyweight boxing, man. It goes two ways. You win or you lose. You stay on your feet or you get knocked out. Either way, you're a man.
Yeah. And you put that post up. Did you get any response from that?
Plenty. A lot of people were saying, good fight for you. Some boxing guys say, won't fight you. Would either fight an easier fighter, and then he wants AJ Usyk. So listen, it just creates attraction. I think it got 48,000 views or whatever. That and the sparring video got the most views, right? I'm not an influencer, I'm a fighter. But it just shows you, like, you put out content, it travels. I'm a fighter, boxer. Like Peter said, imagine Mike Tyson in this era.
Yeah.
No.
You know what would make him great? The social media, he never had that then.
You'd be
Imagine
the
he
first,
did. You'd
You'd
be like
be
a
the
mi-
first billionaire athlete in the world,
Yeah.
Mike Tyson. I mean, Fury's calling out for 500,000.
500 million.
Yeah, 500 million. Sorry, what I said. 500 million. Imagine Tyson in his era, the way he was fighting. I remember it was like he was spoken about everywhere he went in his era. And the way he did it was insane. So, in actual fact, I think Tyson in this era would have been the wealthiest fighter ever in history.
So obviously, you know, with these challenges in terms of, you know, you guys being on such a high level at Smiths, even Keaton, obviously, I assume, has an issue with, you know, getting the competition at his level.
Yeah.
So now, are there people in the country that will be able to take him on? Because obviously, I mean, what is it? Not even a minute into the round, or
Do you want my honest opinion or a teammate's opinion?
I want the opinion that everyone's thinking, or that everyone wants at least.
Well, what are you thinking about Keaton? Answer me.
Well,
you questioning, can he fight for the South African title? Is that where you're going?
Yeah, I think, you know, because I mean, look at every single person he has fought at heavyweight. It doesn't even go past the third round.
Sure, he's doing great.
So surely there should be a fight that he can get now to, you know, claim that South African title.
Anybody who's in the game, who's put up a challenge. I've heard one or two before. That's put up a challenge.
But who would
Step
be able
forward.
to?
I don't know. I've heard about this guy, Chris Thompson. He put up a challenge about Keaton. We put him a challenge back on him right now.
Okay.
On social media, we want to fight you. The challenge was put on his side. We're taking the challenge right now. He needs to sign the contract. We will fight him. I think he's the guy that's most spoken about is him. I don't know who else is.
Well, from an outside perspective, is Chris the person that Keaton should be fighting now? You calling him out?
I don't know. I don't know if Chris wants to fight, but we want to fight.
So essentially, Chris, bro, you got a heavyweight bout against Keaton.
I like Chris, nice guy, but boxing ain't no game, bro. Ain't no game. And I don't run a little what do you call it, like a circus wheel.
Yeah.
We're in the fight game to make statements, and
That's a good fight for Keaton.
yeah, it's a good
Listen,
fight.
I know Chris then he was heavyweight, then he's going to bridgeweight. I'm not sure. But he's the SA heavyweight champion, and I know Keaton wants that belt.
But we'll fight SA heavyweight.
Yeah, Keaton wants that belt. Listen, man, I've sparred both guys. So sparring is not a fight, to be honest. It's really not. That's the first thing we need to clap. Sparring is not a fight, but it's a good fight for Keaton, and we're open and transparent. I don't think it's a good fight for Chris, because I don't know what Chris wants to do. We're talking about local now. You're asking me. I don't know where he's going to bridgeweight or heavyweight, but you got the SA crown. So SA title, this obviously doesn't carry a lot of weight, but there's guys who want to fight for you. You got guys like Josh Pretorius, who Chris beat. You got Jean Roux, I think, Tian Fick, and
I know Jean is still fighting.
I'm not sure. And what's the other guy's name?
Tian Fick,
Josh Roux, Keaton, Chris.
There's not many.
There's not many, but they must fight each other.
There's not many local.
Listen, Keaton wants to fight.
derbies going on in that arena. So there are. So I'm trying to think on division. The only one that comes to mind was Chris, and because he put a challenge out there. So
I think.
So did he put out?
Chris beat Joshua Pretorius. Okay. I think Chris beat Josh. I commentated that fight. He boxed well. He used his jab to win the fight. He boxed really well behind his jab, obviously. And then he won the SA title. And then I think Keaton fought on my undercard when I fought Dinu. Am I right, Pete?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, he knocked a guy out, and then he just knocked another guy out now. Keaton is the next in line for that belt in terms of you come off 2 knockouts. That's the only fight in the heavyweight, South African local heavyweight division, which makes sense. Then Chris, I think, called out Keaton, Jean Roux, and there was another guy, Tian Fick, or someone. Listen, one of those 3, after his victory, he says, I'll fight anybody, any South African heavyweight. I think he's talking about the local guys, I think.
Yeah, he doesn't want to take you on.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay. And then...
They can't take you on.
No. But then there's Keaton. So Keaton's my teammate. That fight must happen. So I don't know, maybe Chris has got other plans, but Keaton's apparently, listen, I was asking Peter, I said, why don't you challenge for the SA title? It's a good fight for Keat to, go the next level. He's like, Peter wants to fight, Keaton wants to fight, so I think it's up to Chris. But I don't know, man. Listen, heavyweight boxing, be exciting. Keaton Gomes has come off 2 knockouts. He smashed 2 guys. There's no 2 ways about it. Keaton knocked his last guy out, and the guy before him, he stopped him. Now he wants to challenge for the SA heavyweight title. I back that because our boys must fight.
So how does this fight happen?
Rodney would.
Well, I'm gonna have to put towards BSA. I'm gonna have to put a challenge up on that fight. Let's see. I'm gonna speak to Rodney today about. I think he's got some other fight lined up for Keaton now, international, if I'm not mistaken. Either that or we fight on the undercard with Kevin if we can get him overseas.
Would that be the one now in December,
Yes.
hopefully?
Yeah. Hopefully we can get him overseas because Ronnie wants an international for Keaton because there's not much we can challenge out here because Keaton is becoming quite a name in his division. And I think, honestly, if there was more fighters out there that were possibly able to fight us, it'll be good for us. Listen, I don't want to push Keaton. I think he's still young in the game. I know he can fight anybody here in Africa. It doesn't matter. The whole of Africa. Internationally, obviously there's many more to pick from. But there are some up-and-comers also that are going to be threats in their career later on. So we just have to watch what's going on and where the plan is. Exactly what I did with when Kevin and I were together. We didn't dodge anything. Kevin took anything that was thrown at him, and in short times, he, not actually what I was approving of in his career, some of the fights, but we had to have a dig. The only way you're going to elevate is you're going to go, and then they're going to throw something at you. And Yuri Kalenga was quite a scary one. Even at Super 4,
Mickey Nielsen.
Mickey Nielsen was a scary, because Mickey Nielsen was a devastating puncher. And his confidence level was so high.
18-0, 17 KOs.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, no, he was a knockout
And he beat
specialist.
Johnny Miller. So that Super 4 was
He broke Johnny's jaw in that fight.
Me, Johnny Miller, him, and a guy called Belanti. Belanti just lost to Bellew. So I fought Belanti. I beat him on points. Then Johnny Miller fought Mickey Nielsen. Johnny Miller lost on points. He showed so much heart and big balls because this Mickey Nielsen was, listen to me, ringside teeing off. Like the punches were making a thud, body, chin, and Johnny like chopped, I think once or twice, but he showed so much balls and heart. He lost on points, and then me and Mickey fought each other in the final. Took him to school. Didn't get in a fight with him, just skills. And I wasn't even at my peak. Like I was like doubted myself, like fuck, can I fight this guy?
That's an interesting one, eh? When he fought that Mickey Nielsen,
My 14th fight.
after that fight, yes, almost got into a squabble with his teammate because he was kind of rude to Kevin, but we couldn't hear what he was trying to say. He was telling us, fuck you.
What happened was, okay, let me tell you.
No,
I didn't tell Peter this part of the fight. In the clinch.
Isn't that one of the guys that you called out?
Yes. In a clinch.
Yeah, that's who we want to go
clinch,
for.
we made eye contact, right? And I stuck my tongue out at him. Because they were like giving Mickey instructions, but I was beating Mickey, and I think that made him angry. So after the fight, it's a sport. So I was on Peter's shoulders, and I put my fist out like to his corner, his promoter, his trainer, and then that Ottavan went, fuck you. I said, fuck you too. And then Peter put me down. I said, Peter wanted it all. But you know what? So that's why, like, I'll fight you now. We both in heavyweight division. I'm not scared of you.
And he's fought Fury, yeah. 3 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm not
Fury
scared of you, man.
distance.
Let's have a dip.
That's on our radar, you know.
We got the names on our radar. We can talk about besides this December. We got Carlos Tucker, strong. He just fought. He's fought Joshua for the world title, Tesora, and some Canadian guy.
He fought Dylan White, didn't he?
Yeah, and he fought also. There's someone else he fought. Big name, man. You know Tucker, built like a brick shit house. We got Valen. We called out. Listen, not call out. I said I'd like to fight these people because I want to put a challenge out there. I want to test myself, and those are true tests. Valen, Tucker. Zon Kuzabutsky's ranked lower than me, but he's got 18-0 with 18 knockouts. So
after this past fight, what's your rank now?
In WBA,
Yeah.
11.
Okay.
And the WBC 15, and overall in the world independent rankings, they got me at 19.
So now this fight in December, if it happens and everything, how will you elevate in the rankings?
I think it should push me quite high because of based on who the opponent is. Being a former cruiserweight unified champion of the world, I think, even though I think he's rated 2 or 3 below me, his name is bigger than mine in the boxing world, I'd say. I don't know, Pete. I think so. I don't know. He's a big name. But I think his heavyweight run hasn't been electric because he came out the cruiserweights, and then I fought Dinu and Maurice Vach. Those are a lot higher level guys than he's fought. He fought 3 guys of a little bit of a lower level. He sparked them out. But I think maybe the people wanted to see a better run from him at heavyweight. And I think now that's what he wants to do. He wants to challenge himself. So I've got to put a stop to that.
And now, obviously, being in heavyweight, not having to cut weight or any of that, do you feel, that you can peak a lot better for these fights?
Yes.
To be honest, for me, I don't get moody fights.
To be honest, yes, I think I was a bit too heavy for my last fight. I was a bit sluggish on my feet. I'd like to be a bit lower, to be honest. I spoke to Pete about that and spoke to Josh. I said, I don't want to be too muscle bound. I want to be dynamic because that's what I am. I'm not a strong man. I'm not going to be stronger than the biggest men out there. But what I am going to be is faster and agile. So if I could come in at like 102, 103, 102 and 106 is all relative. You can be just as strong as a 102 as you can be at 106, but you can be a lot lighter on your feet at 102 than you can be at 106. So I didn't, listen, this fight training camp, I didn't say, I want to put on weight. No, I just obviously put on a bit of weight, 2 kilos more than my last fight.
Because you weren't focusing on almost losing.
Yeah, my last fight I was 104, now I was 106. But at the end of the day, I think a peak Kevin is like 102, 103. I'm not out there to be the big, you can't match a big guy 6'5" of power and size, but you can beat him with speed and agility.
Yeah.
So I think this fight, I really want to, unless I'm not going to dart and be like, I'm eating broccoli, asparagus, and white fish for 12 weeks. But what I'm going to do is change it. I want to just trim it down a bit and be lighter. I'm fortunately blessed or cursed with very big legs, strong legs, but with that comes a bit of movement. And Peter's style is all about dynamic, you got to be moving and you don't stand there in the pocket. So this fight, I felt I I was standing there in the pocket a little bit too much, and it's not because I wanted to. It's just because I wasn't firing like I needed to, but maybe it's because I was a bigger man. But I'm also an honest critic of myself, and I'm not don't blow my own horn or whatever. And Peter doesn't blow my horn too, because I don't need what's those people they're called, like I don't need people.
Yes, man.
Yes, man. Yeah. I don't need those people in my life. I got my coach and my team who told me, hey, listen, your movement. Like I asked a few people, it was great. You counter punching, but you look dynamic combinations, but you look like you were just standing in front of him too much. I said, no, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Because then if you've heard it from 2 or 3 people that understand boxing, they know.
Were those your notes after the fight as well?
Yeah, look, I know exactly how we should be approaching these guys, because you have to be very elusive. You know, you don't want trade-offs in this heavyweight division. You get trade-off, you're gonna have a horrible payday, and it comes with a lot of like long-term afterwards. You know what I mean? It leaves a terrible seed in your mind and your heart. You know, so the most important thing is that, you know, my guys, when they got to get out of their fight unscathed, and Kevin did. Kevin was unscathed in many ways, but I'm always saying, remember, I always think leveling up. I'm not going to take it on the fight. I'm always going to say, are we ready for the next level? Did that fight level me up 2 fights to where we are? Or was it just a win that we won and played it safe? That's not a place you want to be in the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
Because heavyweight mentality is, if they want to cancel you, or they want to hurt you. You know, other divisions you can get away. You can get hurt in any division. Boxing is boxing. Guy hits you with a solid punch, I'm telling you now, and your brain is disorientated. It's a terrible feeling. So you don't want that implemented in your fights every time. I went through a lot of it till I had to get to the trainers that I met and gave me and blessed me with the knowledge and the ability to see what was the difference between just being an ordinary fighter and hoping that you're tough enough to get to the top. Worst attitude ever implemented in a fighter's mind. But, you know, that's the dynamics of what trainers out there know. And the training in the world of boxing is becoming, skillful training is becoming less and less and less. You got more of the mindset now of being like, I'm taking AJ, for example. He's got that, and no disrespect to any training, whatever, CrossFit mentality. He wants to be the strongest. He wants to be the fittest. He wants to be, but then you got a guy like Usyk, who's the smartest, and smartest, because all the other dynamics he brings anyway. He comes in conditioned like any fighter should. Yeah. All top 10 fighters in the world, trust me, you can't outdo, if they do a fitness contest with each other, they're pretty much on the same par. If I had to take AJ and Kevin in a fitness gym aspect, who would win? You know what I mean? That's the type of mindset you got to think. They're pretty much the same. They're going to beat each other at different things. But the man who wins and masters the game is smart, skill, and 100%. The mindset of winning mentally.
There's no 2 ways about that.
Yeah.
And I tell people that.
You can never out-train yourself. The Manny Pacquiaos, the Mayweathers, they know what they have to bring as far as 12 rounds. They don't think 12, they think 15. I still got 3 more in the bag when I finish 12. So when I get to 12 rounds and it's neck on neck and I say, Kev, we've got to turn it up, we've got to do this and that. He knows what to do. It's not just turn up pace and that. Pace is there. That guy's going to be training back. He's going to be doing what he has to do.
Guys are fit at the top, and you know, especially in today's era, that we as a collective, as fighters in the world, we got access to conditioning and running, and we got all that. But remember, I've once told you before, just a small element of addition to your game. If you're not skilled in there and you're getting hit to pieces, bro, you're going to cut your career short. You're going to lose.
You have to have foundation. The foundation of any career, any sport. You got to have your conditioning taped, you know. What elevates it, can I carry my skill set for 12 rounds? Yeah. Can I master the plan? Can I switch, not because I'm physically fatigued or whatever, can I switch and carry, like that's what we do in the gym. We mindset that, like some days we spend like hour, 45 minutes, depending on the day.
And that time you spend with me is my ability to go 12 in the ring and be understanding of every round. And when I sit in that chair, you can hear this man.
Because I know
I've gone 12 rounds 10 times.
He's got to carry that same plan for 12 rounds. Whatever that, Like if I set 6, 7, 8 plan scenarios, I watch, I study the opponent, I say, okay, I see what he does, I watch another fight to see what he does there. Then I can sum it up. Then I look at Kevin and I draw it in together in my visual. And I put it together. What's Kevin going to do here? And I've got to play that. It's like a PlayStation in your own mind, man. Yeah.
So then it's better actually that you didn't knock him out, that you could also get that experience of going to 12 rounds.
I'm glad he didn't.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what,
Well,
it showed for 12 rounds. Listen, it's nice to get a quick payday.
Yeah. But look, Jess, I think Pete's right because you need to be there for 12 rounds. You know what comes with 12 rounds is a lot of concentration.
Yeah. Look how Kevin was on the 12th round with that guy. It was actually a dynamic
Thank you. But that's all like a
performance.
skill set of not getting hit because when you get hit, you get tired.
Yeah.
When you get hit, you can't execute your own game plan. Then obviously my conditioning is good. I'm strong and I'm not playing my own trumpet, but I've got that element. But that element will go out the window if I'm getting tagged and drilled. No matter the strongest men in the world, no one wants to get hit, man. It's going to drop your energy levels. It's going to it's going to destroy your game plan. The more you're getting hit, you stuff.
What's that fight game? That it's like one of those?
Like Tekken.
No, it's like a kung fu game, but the more the guy gets hit, the more
His energy drops.
Yeah.
Well, what is it? It's actually like
It's a fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
The more impact I'm taking, the more it's taking from me. Obviously, the more conditioned I am, the more I'm able to absorb
Enjoy,
more.
yeah.
So that's a credit, but still, you're fatiguing.
Do you know what your conditioning needs to be for? Like, I think if I can tell fighters who are listening, like, you master your skill, let your conditioning be your backup. If you need to really dig deep, you have to have that. Because the guys at the top are all fit. You can't tell me that those oaks are not fit as me, or maybe stronger in different sense. I can maybe deadlift 280, and the other guy can only deadlift 200, but he might run a 10K in 34 minutes, and I run it in 55 minutes. So it's all different, you know? All relative, all different. But you got to be, can you dig into those stores? And with those stores come your skill, boxing skill, and then you need your reserves. And you have to have your reserves. We fighters, you need reserve fuel.
And did you have to go into those reserves this
Never.
last fight?
No, that's the only thing in my mind. I said, come on, man. I didn't even dip into my auxiliary tank.
Is there like a mantra that you have while you're fighting? Like, I'm only at 20%, or like, what do you tell yourself?
I think with this fight, to be honest, I was at about 70% because I feel I can be so much better in everything that Peter teaches me. I was taking shots that I shouldn't have taken. Not a lot because I came out looking okay. But hey, listen, man, you got to be your biggest critic. And Peter said to me, Kev, you this guy, you look great. Well done, but don't fucking sit in the pocket and take punches for what? You know, and I said to Pete, you know, you're right, Pete. Like,
He's obviously now the biggest person you've received punches from.
Yeah.
Did it feel like it was the biggest person you've received?
No, you know what it's about, Jess? It's a different punch. Like, if you had to, like, I got to be relative. Like, if you compare, like, a Keaton Gomes punch, it's like he's explosive. He's a strong boy. Then you compare, like, that guy who's slow, but he's got 124 kilograms behind length, which is like the mechanics and the physics of that. So he might not look like he's hitting hard, but he's got weight.
Well, a great example of that.
like
take
different.
2 cars
Yeah.
on head-on at 80 k's an hour. Now take a truck and a
Yeah.
car.
Take a
at
truck
the
and a
same
GTR,
speed.
or truck and an M3 at the same speed. The M3 is like, the truck is.
But look at the
there's
impact
force.
damage on weight.
Yeah, that's the best way.
Well, I
That's a
mean,
good
I
analogy.
know personally, you know, when I was sparring Gary, first when I sparred against Ivan. Obviously, at the stage, I couldn't take a punch in general, but I could definitely feel the difference when it was coming from Ivan or if it was coming from Gary.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Gary-
And that's.
Gary's like a mosquito. No, I'm joking.
What's your plans now with Gary?
No, I'll eventually turn him pro. I think he's got the ability to, you know what I love about him? And I always say this, bring me 2 things, dedication and your heart. If you show me those 2 aspects, I can do the rest because I'll implement the skill set and the development behind that. But if I don't have those 2, it's very difficult. And I see he's got that and he's very passionate about boxing. You know, it's his golden dream. And I always say one thing, if somebody's got a golden dream, give him a chance.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of fighters that approach me out there. Geez, tons, eh? But I don't just take on anyone because I look at aspects like this because where they come from, it's hard to undo bad habits. It takes me longer. You know, I've trained fighters in the past that came to me and the changeover, because them to trust what you're doing for them is like, you know, you're breaking away from their habits, and all of a sudden you're putting them in a very, and they know they've been in the game. So when I take guys from ground roots, they don't understand what the other side of life is, and they're trusting what I give them. Then I can see, okay, there's ability to change. But in fights, you know, you get fighters that come to you and they fight with their hands down. They want to be Mayweathers, and then you start teaching them different techniques and how to do this and this. And no, don't do that. Don't. And then they're like, oh, okay. So they ingrained that. The ingraining is a problem. So I have to analyze how far they've been ingrained in the game. There's one fighter I met. He's a young kid at the fight. I'm not sure I lost the contact. Black fighter, interesting fighter. I want to actually have a look at him. He's young. He's like 19 as well, but apparently he comes from an amateur career. Got apparently a good amateur. His dad was trying to, but I lost contact with him. I'll try and see if I can get hold of him. He might be one guy I look at. There's also a lot of time, a lot of invested time to spend nurturing and growing and, you know, implementing skills. So I have to always look at what's going wrong all the time in training. And then I have to capitalize and make sure that I can work out skill set to break away habits. So it's a lot of ingraining, it's a lot of time. So that's the only problem. I don't take too many fighters. I have to analyze what's going on behind, you know.
It's like hard for you to give of your energy.
Sure, it's hard work.
Think about it. You got like, let's say me in the training camp, me, Roy, and Keaton, for argument's sake. Let's say this camp we're all fighting similar times. So Peter's got to almost like specify a game plan for him, a game plan for him, and a game plan for him.
And then work out in the same plan what works for him can't work for this guy because he's a southpaw. I have to teach the southpaw not what the orthodox is learning, and I have to teach him fighting an orthodox versus southpaw, and then Keaton fighting orthodox and orthodox.
Yeah.
Two same styles, but then I have to go whoa. So it's quite intense. I can't make. Because fractions are what matter.
And I think trainers give a lot of their time. It's like energy.
Yeah, and it's just the emotional energy that you invest.
Would you want to become a boxing trainer when you're done? I was like, no. They said, why? I said, because I look at like, you got to give everything, like your emotion, your effort, your time. I said, if anything, I'd do like a management thing. I'd never become a trainer. I respect trainers. Listen to me. Like, you got to look at a guy every day. What they bring to the gym affects what rubs off on you, and it's emotionally draining. It has to be. I don't know. I'm sorry. You're training people all the time. You see the same face for the past 11 years.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Jess, it's always been cool,
Jess.
brother. Thank
Awesome.
you very much.
Thanks, brother.
And thanks, guys, for listening.